And Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the U.S. is not scrapping the Iran nuclear deal altogether, despite President Trump not recertifying it. And now Secretary Tillerson is offering some ideas, like possibly engaging Iran in order to address a broader scope of U.S. concerns. Listen.
The time will come when we do need to engage with Iran. I think one of the unfortunate aspects of our relations with Iran over the last several years has been it has been defined almost entirely by this nuclear agreement, to the exclusion of so many other issues that we need to deal with Iran. So part of this conversation is to deal with the nuclear arrangement, but also deal with these broader issues that concern us.
Okay, let's bring in Kiron Skinner, Taube Professor of International Relations at Carnegie Mellon University and Research Fellow for the Hoover Institution and a Fox News foreign policy analyst. Nice to have you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Let's start here with your assessment of Secretary Tillerson's strategy. Should this U.S.-Iran engagement happen sooner than later, and could it be altered in any way by decertifying the Iran nuclear deal?
Well, to really answer that question, I was struck by Secretary Tillerson's comments because they are consistent with President Trump's America First policy adapted to the Iranian nuclear program. And the Secretary is much more in concert with the President than I think in previous statements. He's saying that the issue with Iran is broader than the narrow nuclear agreement, and he's referring to the global terrorism that has been supported by Iran since the revolution in 1979 that has killed hundreds of Americans, which President Trump talked about from the White House on Friday. It's rare to have an American president talk about just the sheer terror that Iran has placed on America. In Lebanon, Afghanistan, Iraq, we've lost American lives due to Iranian-backed militias and terrorist organizations. And what the Secretary is saying is that we're going to look more broadly at our relationship and not tie it so narrowly to the 2015 agreement. And that is President Trump's fingerprints all over his talking points.
So then, Kiron, when you consider the desired outcome versus the actual potential outcome of this engagement with Iran, what can we expect?
I think what will happen is that the interagency in Washington has been moved by the president's action. And so to see the Secretary of State and most likely part of his bureaucracy, the White House, and other parts of the federal government responding to the president, who has been extremely firm about his concerns about the Iranian agreement, saying it is flawed because it's not clear on it, that American interests are represented, that Iranian behavior has not been changed as a result of it. I think the interagency will work better together, and that will be an outcome, and that Congress also, if you look at what Senator Corker's been attempting to do, he's put forth a proposal that would kind of really delineate when automatic sanctions would be reimposed on Iran. I think we will have a clearer, more precise American response. That will be a key outcome. And an Iran that's put on notice, and allies that themselves, although they want the agreement to stay in place, they don't want sanctions reimposed. Many have said that. They will think more broadly about the relationship because they're also experiencing something like an existential threat from Iranians' aggression around the world, its ballistic missile activity, and its support for the regime in Syria.
What's in it for Iran?
Of course, we want better behavior from Iran, but an Iran that knows that America is a lot clearer about its purpose and direction in terms of the Middle East. It understands that the United States will not back down from its interest. I thought what happened with the president's statement was really a watershed moment in U.S.-Iranian relations, because for 4 decades, the Iranians have been used to the United States equivocating on what it does, no matter how egregious its behavior becomes around the world. And this time the president said, we're on a new course. We're looking comprehensively at the Iranian problem, not narrowly. And I think the Iranians heard that on Friday.
What's in it for Iran, though? What's the incentive for them to, sort of walk the path that is now being created for them?
If Washington is successful in a multilateral framework in terms of dealing with Iran, it could mean that sanctions or some type of sanctions could be reimposed that would have a devastating impact potentially on the Iranian economy, which was in tatters at the time of the 2015 agreement. So I think they understand that. You know, there's been an increase in Iranian oil sales since that agreement. So there are a number of factors that they've got to be very careful about in terms of really pushing the United States too far.
So, Kiron, we'll wrap up here, and I'll ask for a short answer for this one. So if the U.S. starts to interact more with Iran in a diplomatic fashion, are there any countries that might object to that approach, or would more U.S.-Iran interaction be better for our allies and the region as a whole?
I think it would be better for the region as the whole, because if you look at UAE and Saudi Arabia, they've been basically on board with the direction of U.S. diplomatic, security, and even its rhetorical policies toward Iran in recent days.
Kiron Skinner, thank you very much. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you.